Welcome everyone to the 84th Celebrity Synastry chart reading, where I will be looking into Kendall Jenner and Devin Booker. If you don't know me, hi, I'm Adeline and it is so nice to meet you. On this channel, I look at the dynamic between two celebrities using astrology. For those new and returning, I take notes on a Synastry chart looking at the personal planet, signs, aspects, and of birth times available house overlays. I share these notes and add my extra insights and interpretations along the way. So if that sounds good to you, subscribe and click the bell to join us weekly, and let's get right into it. Starting off with the sun, both of the sun signs are in Scorpio, so it's an intense partnership and a deep and meaningful relationship, which you kind of hope it would be a bit meaningful. They were together for quite some time, I believe. I don't know, but I'm pretty sure it was like at least a couple years they were together. Either a satisfying or destructive relationship, and they are attached and obsessed with each other. Okay. They get married quickly. I don't think so. Devin's sun overlaid in Kendall's 7th house. It's love-hate, and they feel united together. I mean, not surprisingly with the love-hate, because we did see it's either satisfying or destructive. They're attached and obsessed. Like, it's very, it's giving love-hate. They are deeply moved by each other, and they get in each other's heads. They sense that they are complementary, and both subconsciously try to prove they are separate from the relationship, which, I mean, I feel like if they were trying to do that, I feel like they were pretty successful. You don't really associate these two with each other. I feel like especially when you compare Kendall to her other sisters who are heavily associated with their partners. The other is a big presence in their life, and they need to find a balance to make the relationship work, which I agree, because so far it seems to be quite intense and extreme. They both may be driven to express themselves in extreme ways, and possibility of their personalities being lost in their relationship. Okay. Their suns are conjunct together, so it's an easy to maintain relationship, and there is an ability to relate to each other. It seems to be that way, especially like they sense that they're quite complementary, which doesn't seem to bother them as such. It's an affirmative and supportive relationship, and they strongly identify with each other. They boost each other's confidence, and there is a lot of self-acceptance in this relationship, and it can be challenging as they both share the same negative qualities. So far, it seems like there potentially is a bit of extremism to this relationship, but hopefully we will see a bit more as time goes on. I think as well, like, because we did see like their both personalities could be lost in their relationship. Maybe it is simply because they have a very similar personality. Kendall's sun conjunct Devin's Mercury. There is good communication and they enjoy learning together. There is a productive domestic life. So I wonder if they ever lived together or anything like that, or maybe the relationship got very serious quickly, because we're seeing this domestic note, but also right in the beginning they get married quickly. So I wonder, already we're seeing those sort of domestic, more serious relationship notes. They share and talk about ideas, and Devin values Kendall's views, and he feels free to speak around Kendall. Kendall's sun sextile Devin's Jupiter. Kendall energizes Devin, and they are good travel companions, which I imagine they would have traveled at some point in their relationship. I'm not sure how much they would have done together, because I believe, Kendall is Kendall. She's a, supermodel and everything, has to travel a lot, probably with her family as well. But also with Devin, he's a basketball player. You would do a lot of touring around that. But as far as I know, Kendall seems to do a bit more international travel, whereas Devin does more of the domestic travel within the US. So, I mean, at some point, I'm sure they would have had to travel together. If they've had a long relationship and they both travel a lot as individuals, I'm sure they would have done that as together, Devin is generous with Kendall, and mutual respect remains after the end. Already seeing an ending. They both want to make the other happy, and Devin boosts Kendall's confidence, which we did see that they both boost each other's confidence. Devin opens up new doors for Kendall, and Devin frequently gives Kendall the benefit of the doubt. So already, as we are closing off, with this sort of beginning part of the relationship, the sun section, it seems like thus far there is a lot of emphasis on Devin. He seems to be so far a lot more present in the relationship rather than Kendall. Hopefully we will see a bit more, but that is just an observation I wanted to make just at the beginning. Now for the intermission. This video is brought to you by me, my Etsy store, Adeline the Astrologer. If you ever watch this and think, hey, I would like her to read my Synastry chart, well, I will. I do personalized synastry readings on my Etsy store, both basic and detailed. The basic one is very simple to understand. It's not overwhelming at all. It's pretty good for those that are beginners to astrology, just getting the head around astrology, or just as a fun gift idea. The detailed one is just like what I do on my channel, just a lot of insight and interpretation on your chart. So if you are interested in that and everything else astrology and tarot related, readings and gifts, then definitely check out my Etsy store. Links are below. I'm always releasing new things, so definitely check it out if you're interested. You can even just favorite the store just to show your support for free. Thanks for listening, and let's get back to the reading. So now it is time for moon. We have Kendall's moon in Aries and Devin's moon in Gemini. They are both restless and get easily bored, and Kendall finds Devin confusing. Okay, I wonder where this will be coming from. If they seem to have similar personalities, neither are comfortable with emotions, and Kendall can find Devin's childlike nature irritating. Okay. I really hope this isn't the case, but I feel like a sort of childlike thing is being quite sort of, that sort of childlike curiosity kids have where they really admire something, and maybe you can have a bit of an obsession with something. I feel like you could kind of see Devin being a bit like, because we did just see like there's a lot more on his side at the beginning. He's boosting Kendall's confidence. He's opening up doors for her, like really giving her the benefit of the doubt, really admiring her and kind of putting her up on a pedestal, which is kind of a childlike thing to do. If that is what Kendall finds irritating, I really hope not, but just making the connection so far, that's a big yikes then. Devin's moon are overlaid in Kendall's third house. It's cooperative and friendly, and Devin admires Kendall's lifestyle. Devin is supportive of Kendall's priorities, so I feel like that support would give giving Kendall the benefit of the doubt. I feel like that really connects them. They don't irritate each other. I really hope not. I really hope we're going to see that one little irritation thing from Kendall's end, just a one-off, because that's how I don't like that. Kendall thinks of Devin often, and Kendall enjoys Devin's company. It's relaxed and productive, and they communicate well. Their moons are square to each other, so timing is difficult, and they find each other's habits unbearable. I don't like how we're leaning towards the irritation. That's not fun. Past relationships from both sides are carried into this. I don't know of anyone either of them have been with before this. Because as far as I know, these two, I don't like their first really public relationship anyway. I know Kendall Jenner and Bad Bunny, but that was after. I don't know what they would have had before, but either way, I'm sure something would have happened. Whatever, if it is a relationship, it could be family as well. That is there. Different views regarding the home. I wonder, because timing is difficult as well. We saw that. That's a big hindrance, can be a very big hindrance. I wonder, because we did see how they have a productive domestic life, they get married quickly. Potentially, maybe they got serious very quickly, and then they realized, hang on, practically speaking, when it comes to actually living together and creating a life, maybe they do have different views regarding that, which is why maybe it deteriorated. Hopefully we'll see a bit more. Kendall's moon opposite Devin's Venus. They both learn balance and harmony, and it is easy to take each other for granted. Living beyond means occurs, and they will not appreciate each other sometimes. I hate to say this, I feel like it is a bit more on Kendall's side, because Kendall is the only one we have seen who seems to be a bit irritated here. Devin seems to be just very in love with Kendall thus far with what we're seeing. Kendall may be undervalued or misunderstood by Devin. As soon as I say, yeah, Kendall's a bit weird, I get this note. Yeah, potentially. I really hope we'll see a bit more. Compromise needs to happen, and Devin gets confused of Kendall's emotions. It's interesting how they both find each other confusing. That's especially considering in the beginning we saw a lot of they have a similar personality. I wonder if it would be in other ways, because emotionally wise, it doesn't seem that way. The only thing we have seen is that none of them are comfortable with emotions. So surely it can't be the emotions, maybe other things. I mean, obviously the whole domestic factors and all of that. But that seems to be just they just have different views, not that they're confused by them. So hopefully we'll see a bit more. Kendall sees Devin as narcissistic and seductive, and Devin sees Kendall as childish and needy. Kendall's moon conjunct Devin's Saturn. Kendall feels an emotional need to maintain long-term commitment. So I wonder if she was the one like pushing it to be more serious and really extending their relationship as long as it could go for. Devin wants to guide Kendall, and Devin is protective of Kendall, which goes back to potentially why he would be, giving her the benefit of the doubt, really opening up the doors for her, really trying to help her, because he, has that protection and wants to really, help her, Kendall may be either upset with this help or accepting of it. I mean, it's hard to say either way, because we saw that she was irritated with him, that sort of childlike nature, children want to help, pure, that sort of, stereotype of, a pure, innocent child, they want to help. So it's hard to say so far. Relationship based on mutual respect. Devin gives practical support rather than emotional support. I mean, not surprisingly so, because Devin, he seems to be giving a whole lot more practical support, opening those doors for Kendall, giving her benefit of the doubt. And we did see that neither of them are comfortable with emotions, which we haven't seen anything else really besides that when it comes to emotions anyway. Kendall's moon sextile Devin's Uranus. It's not a boring relationship. I mean, it doesn't seem to be. We did see in the beginning, it is quite intense and can be very love-hate. So a bit of a, interesting dynamic. They share common eccentric friends, and they talk about social and political issues. Mutual friends may bring them together, and Kendall creates a loving environment for Devin. I'm glad we're seeing this. Kendall's moon trine Devin's Pluto. It's an intense meeting, as it seems like their relationship generally is, the sort of foundations, which I imagine is why it would be an intense, if they have an intense foundation, that would kind of stem from how they sort of, it began and everything. They both will need to let go of fake personas, and there is a strong bond. They both bring truth and change in social and political areas together. Did they do something together, social and politically wise, or maybe they stood together on the same issues? Because this has come up again. They're involved in organizations together, and they both can transform each other. They can solve problems in the community, and they can go through difficulties together. Devin's moon trine Kendall's Mercury. They are comfortable talking to each other about everything, and it's a harmonious relationship. Kendall enjoys being emotionally nourished by Devin. Wow, emotions here. Kendall provides a foundation for Devin's feelings, and Devin is comfortable expressing his feelings of Kendall. I will give it to them. They do seem to be quite, enjoy each other's company. In other ways, there's a bit of irritation. It seems like they find each other a bit confusing, but it is nice that they seem to enjoy spending time together, So now it's time for Mercury. We have Kendall's Mercury in Libra and Devin's Mercury in Scorpio. Conflict between Kendall's detachment and Devin's attachment. I see that, because it seems like there is a whole lot more happening on Devin's end, in terms of he's doing this for Kendall. This is how he's invested. Whereas Kendall, we haven't seen a whole lot, compared to Devin anyway. She seems to enjoy spending time with him, enjoys, having those conversations with him that are a bit more on the emotional side and feelings and everything. But outside of that, compared to Devin, there isn't a whole lot. Devin can be impatient of Kendall's excessive analysis. I mean, if she is interpreting his actions as childlike behavior and a bit more irritating, I would be too, a bit irritated. Neither are self-centered. I mean, maybe a bit more ignorant to each other rather than anything else. Devin's Mercury overlaid in Kendall's 7th house. Devin senses Kendall will accept the way he thinks, which it seems like she does. There is strong communication, and Devin finds it easy to communicate with Kendall, which would help if, she provides that foundation for him. There is an intellectual bond. Kendall's Mercury sextile Devin's Mars. Devin encourages Kendall to put her thoughts into action. So going back to how he really helps her practically. There is healthy competitiveness, and they work well together. Devin can take things too personally. I wonder, because even me, I'm being very fixated on Kendall irritated with Devin's childlike qualities. Because we did see, we're seeing this, he's taking things too personally. But also we did see that he misunderstands Kendall. So potentially, maybe Kendall is just a bit of someone that analyzes excessively, reads too much into things, and that is just how she naturally is. She's not necessarily like, it's not like a negative thing. It's more like an indifferent, neutral thing, if that makes sense. And Devin is just taking it way too personally. They inspire each other to improve themselves. Kendall's Mercury squared Devin's Uranus. They challenge the way the other looks at things. I feel like this would be a bit more on Kendall's end. They have intellectual conversations, which this is starting to come up a bit now. And Devin finds Kendall too traditional. In what way, I wonder? Like, the only thing I can really, consider in this reading is we did see how Kendall, keeps the relationship going and wants that long-term commitment. So potentially in that way, she's really, I guess, trying to make this as serious as possible. Kendall finds it difficult to depend on Devin. I wonder in what way, because it seems like in a practical sense, like she really can rely on him. I guess, I mean, we only did see one note of her being emotionally nourished by Devin, so maybe she wants a bit more emotional nourishment. I hope we'll see a bit more, maybe, because it seems like on the practical sense, she's very covered. Kendall's Mercury square Devin's Neptune. They think creatively around the other. This is one of a reading where they're not like both musicians or anything, because normally it's like, of course they're creative around each other. They're both like actors, they're both musicians, but they don't particularly have, creative careers. Kendall, I guess you could kind of make an argument, like you do have to be a bit creative. The thing though, she is kind of, known for not being the most creative model. Objectively speaking, that's a very common opinion. So I don't know in what way they would think creatively around the other. Potentially, maybe they share the same music taste or something like that. Kendall misunderstands Devin. Okay, so misunderstandings on both ends. They both need to be clearer with communication. I see that because we both have seen on both ends that they misunderstand each other, misinterpret each other. So Kendall sees Devin as abstract and Devin sees Kendall as practical and logical. Kendall's trust for Devin fades. It seems like the longevity of this relationship is really based on Kendall. With what we're seeing so far, she's trying to keep it going. But then also, there's deterring factors on her end and how she feels about the relationship. She seems to be quite in control with, how the direction of this relationship, if that makes sense. Devin feels misunderstood by Kendall, and Devin feels limited by Kendall. I feel kind of bad for him. I'm gonna get a no. Kendall is so understanding or something next, like we did just before. But it seems like I feel kind of bad for him because he seems to be putting a lot of effort in ways that he can understand, and it doesn't seem to be quite, appreciated by Kendall. I really hope I'm misinterpreting this because this is a very illusionary relationship. In my head, I'm seeing that tarot card. I think it's the Seven of Cups, where it's that, the card where the guy is, or the person, I should say, there's cups in the air and there's clouds and there's deception and all of that. That's what I'm seeing in my head right now with this reading. So now it's time for Venus. We have Kendall's Venus in Sagittarius and Devin's Venus in Libra. They have an enthusiastic and positive relationship, and Devin finds Kendall unsettling. They have a lot of fun together and they share good conversations. I feel like they are, seems like they do have a pretty decent foundation in terms of, they do enjoy spending time together. Potentially, there is just a lot of, key differences. They cannot just understand each other. Maybe this might be overthinking and stretching, so I would love your opinions on this. But I feel like potentially could be a stretch. But if they do seem to have similar personalities, maybe they sense that in each other, and potentially considering that Kendall sees Devin as a bit childlike, and we did see that on Devin's end as well, him seeing Kendall as a childlike, has that childish nature. Potentially, a childlike quality. They, some children anyway, they kind of have a bit of difficulty understanding things that are different than them, and, do seem to gravitate towards things that are similar to them. I feel like maybe, they have difficulty understanding the other when they don't have the same qualities, if that makes sense. And I guess I should probably say childlike in a sense of being immature. as well. Like, you know, those immature children, like something's not similar, they cannot grasp it for the life of them. I feel like there kind of seems to be that sort of element with these two. Maybe that is why they have so many misunderstandings. Kendall appreciates Devin's reasonable nature, so I assume this will be his like sort of practicality and everything, and him being very like generous in that sense. They have shared interests, which I feel like would lean towards creative with what we have seen so far. Devin's Venus overlaid in Kendall's 6th house. Devin feels they don't have much in common. I mean, they really don't. I mean, with shared interests, we've seen the one creative aspect, and also like social and political views they seem to share. Outside of that, it is a bit of a misunderstanding. Kendall senses Devin isn't really into her. This is odd considering Kendall is the one pushing the relationship, which concerns me a bit. Neither see the other as their type, and it's a helpful and productive relationship. I feel like definitely on Kendall's end. Which I wonder how Devin helped Kendall practically. I didn't even think about that. How silly of me, because you know, Devin, as far as I know, like he's a basketball player, but as far as I know, he doesn't have a whole lot of connections when it comes to like anything entertainment wise. And as far as I know, Kendall hasn't done a whole lot in like basketball at all. I would have thought like Kendall would be the one with the more connections and everything, considering her family and everything. So I really wonder where like he would have helped her practically. Together as a result of duty or obligation. I don't like this. Maybe like, I guess, because we did see Devin finds Kendall a bit traditional. Maybe Kendall does have that more traditional mindset. Like once you're in a relationship, you're kind of like stuck in it for life sort of thing. Like that really old mentality of like the first one you kind of find, okay, you're together now, you're making this work and everything, you know. It is that weird, you know, mindset of like you can't, you know, I hope I'm making sense, you know, that sort of like old mindset where like you cannot like, you know, like date around or anything like that is very shame. Sort of is like the first one you find, you make it work. It is your duty and obligation to make this last for as long as possible, which is a very traditional mindset. So, and it kind of matches with like, you know, Devin seeing Kendall as too traditional, and she is really trying to make this work, it seems like. Or at least to make it like the longevity last, you know, rather than work. The Venus signs are sextile to each other, so they share similar ideals and share similar tastes in aesthetics. So maybe like creatively wise, maybe they do share quite similar aesthetics, which, you know, that kind of is an indicator of like possible relationship, you know. Possibility of a friendship turned marriage. Do I feel like they were friends? I mean, we haven't seen anything like to indicate that, because it seems like from the get-go it's very intense, unless it was very intense friendship, but you know, I don't feel that way anyway. They appreciate how the other dresses, handles money and socializes, and they have good decision-making skills as a couple. They cooperate on the basic level and they are at ease in each other's company. This, like, ever since that whole note together as a result of duty and obligation, like, this whole aspect, the Venus and Sextile aspect, it really just feels like a sort of, you know, really traditional couple, like, very much on for show, if that makes sense. Like, they're kind of together because they have to be, but they are making like a good appearance, you know, with it. They feel warmly about each other and they share a social life as a couple. They both want to make the other happy. Kendall's Venus square Devin's Mars. There is jealousy and possessiveness, and Kendall sees Devin as dominant, I assume with whatever practical way he's helping her, because he seems to have something on her that we don't know about. Devin sees Kendall as seductive with no substance. Didn't we see this on Devin's end as well? Like, Kendall seeing Devin as seductive. Kendall's Venus, Trine Devin's Saturn. Devin stabilizes Kendall's emotions. So it seems like they are able to emotionally communicate, which that is nice. I'm going to focus on the positives as well. There is a strong commitment. You could say that in one way. They sacrifice for each other and they see the relationship as everlasting. It seems to be particularly on Kendall's end. They help each other in career. Seems to be more on Devin's end. And Kendall admires Devin's strength. So potentially, like, she sees him as a bit like a very strong person. You know, we did see she sees him as dominant. So potentially just a very dominant, strong person. Kendall's Venus, sextile Devin's Uranus. Devin likes to keep the relationship exciting. He seems to be generally being putting a lot more effort into this relationship. Like, full, no offense to Kendall, but it seems like for someone who is trying to make the relationship, like, last longer, she's not the one putting in all the effort though. Like, and I hope I'm interpreting this wrong, but like that's all I'm seeing here. They share unusual interests and they're an unconventional couple. I mean, I guess like on Kendall's end, this is an unconventional relationship because, you know, I mean, people knew about these two, but when you compare Kendall's sisters and their relationship, how they're so public and everything, you know, Kendall is quite unconventional in terms of that. Kendall is drawn to Devin's unique qualities and Devin feels appreciated by Kendall. I'm glad because I'm glad there's some positive things here because it really, Devin finds Kendall charming and attractive. It really does seem to be a bit more like of a superficial, like this just came to my head, sorry. It seems to be a bit more of like a superficial relationship in terms of, because like just thinking about it, you know, I kind of made this point before. You know, they both seem to be like attracted to each other, both like each other because of their sort of like similar personality traits. Anything different throws them off, like immature children. But it seems like with the last few aspects we have been seeing, it seems like it is very much a superficial relationship. Like, kind of like I said, it kind of seems to be a bit for show. You know, they kind of are together because they're stuck together, and a bit more of the focus is on like how they look as a couple, and very superficial, like, you know, not a lot of depth here, if that makes sense. Like, we did see it is very intense, but we haven't seen a whole lot. I feel like in other relationships we see, you know, there's psychological aspects to this, like they really dig into each other's psyche and all of that. Here it seems to be a whole lot, like they have a bit of emotional, you know, a relationship, a little bit of that. Not that they seem to naturally feel comfortable with that. It doesn't seem to be a whole lot of depth. It seems to be a whole lot of show. Kendall's Venus conjunct Devin's Pluto. Intensity constantly deepens. I'm glad. You know, I swear, every time I make a point with these two, like, there's something else that, like, flips it on its head. I still stand by what I said. It mostly seems to be quite superficial, though. Manipulation of the other can occur, and there's a strong pull to each other. There's a deep emotional tie, and Devin can read Kendall, probably because he's a bit more invested and maybe, like, quite a lot more observant of Kendall. It's karmic. You know, that explains everything for me, you know? I've been quite confused in this reading. What do I make out of this? Karmic makes perfect sense. Devin's Venus, Trine Kendall's Uranus. Relationship seems odd to outsiders. It's weird because we have been seeing there's a lot of unconventionalness to this relationship, which let me know if you guys know anything about this, people that I don't, but it seems like the only thing is like Kendall in comparison to her sisters. They enjoy experimenting together and they share unusual interests, which we're seeing again. There's an unconventional setup. And Devin is drawn to Kendall's unique qualities, which is nice because we did see this on Kendall's end with Devin. So it's nice that they both like really like their, you know, unique things about the other. It's not long term. Yeah, not surprisingly so, I guess. I mean, it was long term. It's just, yeah. Kendall finds Devin charming and attractive, so they both seem to view each other as quite this, like, very attractive, charming, seductive people. There is an element of fate. Maybe that's why the relationship started off so, like, you know, intense and everything. Because we did see unconventional domestic setup. Element of fate, which I guess would make sense why there is a bit more of an intense relationship. And we did just say there's an unconventional setup, so I guess that's up. Devin's Venus, sextile Kendall's Pluto. They are consumed by each other, and it is unlikely to go stale and routine. I mean, I guess not stale, it's just very chaotic, I guess, rather than, you know, nice and everything. Devin sees Kendall as irresistible, and it's emotionally fulfilling. I guess it would be, like, if neither are naturally, like, quite emotional, the little emotional connection they have very well could be emotionally fulfilling. Both see disagreements as a way to understand the other person more, which I feel like this is a very good thing considering it seems like they have a bit more disagreements, I would say, you know. So now it's time for Mars. We have Kendall's Mars in Sagittarius and Devin's Mars in Virgo. These are both mutable signs. It's an experimental relationship we're seeing again, and Devin tends to be critical of Kendall. Kendall enjoys debates with Devin, and they are direct with each other. Devin's Mars overlaid in Kendall's 5th house. Devin likes to initiate dangerous activities, and Devin seeks admiration from Kendall. I mean, if Kendall is irritated with like his childlike qualities, I feel like this would be if he's initiating dangerous activities and he seeks admiration from Kendall. If those two things are connected, like that's like kind of like a weird attention grabby thing. Kendall is flustered around Devin and there's possessive tendencies. I don't feel like we did see jealousy and emotional manipulation, but we haven't seen like one is more possessive or one is more like manipulative or controlling than the other. So I don't feel like this would be a very strong, element into their relationship. It could just be a very conventional, like, normal possessive in terms of like, don't speak to other women in that way and all of that. Or men in that way, I should say as well. Like, don't, step out of this relationship. Devin finds Kendall childish and obnoxious. So it seems like there is a bit of an element here. They both see each other as a bit more childish. Devin's Mars square Kendall's Pluto. There are power struggles and external influences challenge them. I wonder in what way. The only thing I can think of is like Kendall's family. And I guess the media as well. Devin's blood nature triggers Kendall's inner issues and they dig into each other's psyche. This is what I was asking for before, some depth. There is a brutal transformation and need to deal with their own issues instead of fighting each other. So that was the final aspect, bringing us to the end of the reading. If you are still watching, please share thoughts below. I would be very curious to see how you guys interpret this one, because honestly, it was a bit of a roller coaster for me. And the only way I can really summarize this is karmic, that one note. But also that tarot card I was talking about earlier, I believe it's the 7 of Cups where, I explained it before, like all those cups and all the smoke and all of that. That's how I feel about this relationship summarized. So I'd definitely love to hear what you guys have to say about this one. It was a very, roller coastery one. If you have made it this far, please consider subscribing for more. I post these readings weekly. Besides that, give this video a like and I will see you guys next time. Bye!